Hey guys, just want to let you know that if you enjoy this kind of stuff, make sure to let me know down below. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more of this kind of stuff. All this was done on my Twitch channel, so if you want to come hang out for the next one, make sure to click the link down below. For right now, let's get into the video, shall we? See you guys in the next piece of content. Alright, so the specs of the computer are a GTX 1060 3GB from BNY. We have a 1TB Samsung 850, a Fantex fan controller because we had to pick up a new one because there's only one fan header on the motherboard, and the fans I was controlling are 3 NF-F12s that were graciously donated by someone in the community. Also, there was a Wi-Fi card installed, which was very nice. EVGA RAM, 16 gigs of it, which, don't be honest, did not know they made RAM. So that was a new one. They also make power supplies, which was also in the box. Amazing box. We also have an i5-6500 from Intel and an H110M HDV motherboard from ASRock. Also, by the way, if you hear sniffling, I'm recording this while under the weather, so apologies if you hear that. Not a whole lot I can do about that. Kind of need to breathe. The case that we ended up going with is a Silverstone Aura R1, which is a pretty, honestly, inexpensive case. I think it was $80, I believe, but it has no tempered glass, so that was part of the reason we ended up going with it, because we were going to be shipping this across the country and did not want to deal with any of that shenanigans of glass breaking. That's just no fun for everyone. Overall, I did enjoy building in the case. It wasn't too bad. The front panel was a little bit of a pain, and there were only 2 reusable PCI slots, so all of them were breakaways, so that was unfortunate, but aside from that, not a terrible case. I didn't really have anything, motherboard box to put that on, so I just cut off a piece of cardboard that was shipped over, and we just ended up using that as a non-conductive surface. Definitely always clean off your CPUs and CPU coolers with isopropyl alcohol. The blue towel I'm using is shop towel, which is very useful. You can usually pick it up at like auto parts stores or Costco. Costco is usually where I get it. At this point, we were trying to decide on which thermal paste we were going to use. Chat decided to vote on going bougie with it. Originally, it was going to be Corsair XTM, but I had some Thermal Grizzly lying around, and they voted for Thermal Grizzly. So there's some Thermal Grizzly Cryonaut in there. Though I'm not sure how much it would help a stock cooler, to be completely honest. Oh yeah, this is where I had to move some of the motherboard standoffs. It was preset in the ATX format, so since it's a micro ATX motherboard, I had to move some of them over back from ATX over to micro ATX, which isn't too hard. If you have a pair of pliers, you're good. So here's that breakaway bracket I was telling you about that I wasn't exactly a fan of. We had to remove it in order to get the Wi-Fi card in there. And thus also begins the cable management, which definitely could have been easier with a fully modular power supply, but I'm okay with it. There's a lot of just shoving things into the power supply basement. Favorite portion, managing the cables, and then realizing you have to redo it about 4 different times. Always a grand old time. If you are trying to cable manage and you're not using either Velcro ties or cable ties, definitely would recommend. Very useful, very helpful for these kinds of things. And there's also sometimes like adhesive like guides that will sometimes come with motherboards or cases or whatever, or you can probably find them in local hardware store as well. Those are also very helpful for helping guide your cables and such. Oh yeah, one thing I wasn't necessarily a fan of, the the SSD trays were kind of stubborn. Uh, I was also having a mind derp on where to mount the Fantex power or fan hub, which it's magnetic, which is very helpful, but sometimes too many options makes your brain go crosswired. Oh yeah, one downside with this case, I noticed was when I was trying to get all 3 fans into the front, they are a little more difficult in order to get in, especially the bottom 120 fan. You really have this, especially with the Noctua fans, you really got to crank it, and you got to do this really weird like reach around thing in order to make sure it works, because the front panel doesn't come off. So yeah, it's kind of weird going through the basement in order to screw it all in. Oh, by the way, the case does come with one stock 120 fan. It's installed in the back, which is probably the correct place to have it, but you definitely need more fans in order for this case to function well as a mesh case. So if you're looking at buying this case, definitely weigh the pros and cons of either getting this case plus more fans or just upgrading to a larger case or a more expensive case. So the unfortunate thing that ended up happening here, I'm not sure if you can see, but the fans are a little too low, which I couldn't tell at the time. So now I'm trying to get the front panel back on, and I can't figure out why it's not going on. So the issue is that the front I/O is interfering with the, I think it was the middle fan, if I remember correctly, where it was at. So I had to loosen all the fans and shove them up slightly so they would actually let the front I/O clear and let it all clip into place. So just as a heads up, start from the top, go down. Don't start at the bottom and go up. Oh yeah, I was having a moment trying to figure out why I couldn't find a 4-pin CPU EPS power connector. I'm too used to the higher end ones where they have an individual option. So the way we ended up plugging it in for this case and power supply and motherboard is there is just an 8-pin EPS and you just plug 4 of the pins in, which I realize I've done in the past, but that memory apparently did not want to unlock during that time. All right, we now got the back panel on. That's usually a good sign, right? Now, finish everything up. The last bit's plugged in, last bit of routing done. But I'm sure you're looking at the time code being like, there must be more. Well, you'd be right. But that'd be spoilers.
Three, two, one. Fan spin. Okay. Fantastic tuning. Look at this. Look at Azrock being funny. Fantastic. You know what you are, chat? You are fantastic, and please don't flash me.
So here I was going through the BIOS and trying to optimize stuff. Yes, it's technically called a UEFI. A lot of us still call it the BIOS anyways.
Oh, wow. Why is the CPU temp so high? CPU's running at 87 degrees. It's not even doing anything. But why is the CPU operating at such a high temperature? That is weird. Oh. Oh, what the heck? Oh, no. I know what's going on.
So if you couldn't tell, the CPU temps were reading much higher than they should have. So unfortunately, we had to remove the stock cooler. I unfortunately made the assumption that a Dell stock cooler is the same threading as a regular stock cooler. I was incorrect, so don't make that same assumption. So we had to remove the Dell stock cooler, and I happened to have an old PC that had an H212 Evo still hanging out in it. It's a much older case, much older system. If you're curious, I believe it's a Sandy Bridge, I believe, Xeon system. Unfortunately, with this case, I have to remove everything. There is no motherboard cutout in the back. So I have to get the back plate off as well. So that means I have to remove everything. Bit of a pain. So now I've gotten everything I needed from the old computer, so now it's just mounting the H212 and be on its way. Apparently when I mounted the H212 in the old case, I forgot to take the plastic backing off, so that's that really weird green filament, I guess, that you see there. So I try to remove it, and it's kind of stuck on there. So it takes a bit of doing, but we managed to get the majority of it off. In hindsight, I probably should have just taken it off and used some Goo Gone, but it was 2 a.m., 3 a.m. at this point, and I just wanted to be done. Thankfully, the Farah does have a motherboard cutout, so I didn't have to undo literally all the work I had just done. So that is definitely a blessing. Thank you, Silverstone. Appreciate it. All right, we got the back panel back on again. And yes, we did double check midstream to make sure that the H212 does fit with the lid closed.
$500 running at performance, CPU fan. That's a more reasonable. CPU temp, 30 degrees. That is so much better. Holy shiz. Look at this. Oh, now you can't see that. Oh, that's wrong way. Get a live feed over there. That is. It was only 80. Oh, it climbed to like 90. I was like, okay. Who's going to use this? We're going project card. There you go. That is the name of this PC. What is being built? What is being built is a PC for a fellow mod.
All right, and now we're running benchmarks. So we ended up running Cinebench along with 3D Mark and a couple of games as well. So stick around and watch those if you want. If you want a shorter version of this video, more of a TLDR, there is another video coming out after this that also goes into more of the details of why it was being built as well. And you'll be able to see all of the benchmarks because I did some of them off stream. So if you want to see every single benchmark, you'll have to tune to that one. So that was single threaded. Now we're running multi-thread, which should run a lot faster. So remember, this is a 6500 that we're testing. So we're testing the CPU right now, and it's going to be a 4-core, 4-thread option. Now we're testing Heaven, which tests primarily the GPU. I also have hardware monitor up in order to check the temperatures as well, and then I also have the MSI Afterburner that you see in the upper right-hand corner. And Heaven ends up testing the GPU performance, so that's what why we're testing it on Heaven. This one is TimeSpy from 3D Mark. So 3D Mark is a testing suite you can get on Steam, and TimeSpy is actually the stress test you end up running virtually in PC Building Simulator. So if you've watched my content from that, you'll be very familiar with this run. So this is testing both CPU and GPU. This is an older test that also tests CPU and GPU. It's called Firestrike. I'm gonna be honest, I think Firestrike's much prettier. Yo, why benchmarks gotta be so pretty though? For real. And then to get a gaming benchmark out of the way, we ended up running Rainbow Six Siege. I'll run an esport title. Thank you guys for hanging out. Appreciate it. Check out the next video, and I'll see you guys in the next piece of content. See you.